So we're going to be studying the honour which is called currency. And the honour there, you will see the picture, the patch, and you've got a picture of a Roman soldier's head, haven't you? And we'll explain what that is because many of the coins go back to Roman days. Now, there's a very long term that is called for a coin collector, and it's called a numismatist. Now, numismatics is simply the study of currency. So you may well become a numismatist before you've finished, but a coin collector. All right, now this honour has a number of requirements, and you need to have a look what the requirements actually are. So they should now be on the screen, and there are 8 requirements to complete this honour. And they're not that hard, and we're going to go through most of them, although it will require you to do some collecting of your own, and that's the fun part. All right, so the first requirement is we've got to relate briefly the story of barter, showing 3 reasons why money came into being, and name at least 10 unusual forms of money. So before money was ever printed, people exchanged things or items, and that's called barter, and I'll explain that later on. We're going to relate the history of coinage and look at paper currency in your country. Now, I guess most here are from the UK, but if you're from another country, you will have your own coins and notes. We're going to explain how money is distributed, and then we're going to define some terms: monetary system, alloys, coin, cask, coinage, cladding, commemorative, dies, and a number of these terms. They will all be explained. Now, in the second part, we begin to get a bit more practical. You've got to describe the obverse and reverse of paper money of at least 6 lowest denominations in your country. So they're the different sides of the currency. We'll look at them. We'll look at how coins are graded, because if you collect coins, it's the quality of the coin, how good a condition it's in. And then number 7, you need to have a coin or note collection from 10 different countries. So Pastor Dejan's collection of Serbian coins would actually help us as one of them. And then you describe what's on each, the names or objects portrayed, and we'll go through all of that. And then you've got to do one of the following: collect at least 5 coins or notes from your country, no longer in circulation, or collect a date series of coins from your country beginning with the year of your birth. Okay, they're the requirements. They're online. You will have them in the PowerPoint that you can find. So let's get started. Now, I first started with coins, and if you can see me on the screen, my dad had a shop, and he used to have, before the fancy cash registers, he just had a tin, and he would put in the takings in the tin. And at the end of the day, I was allowed to go and look what he had. And if he had some pennies, and I started collecting old pre-decimal pennies. If he had pennies, I could take one out, but I had to replace it with my pocket money, because I was looking for years and dates, and I wanted to find a penny with a date I hadn't got. Now, I've got a whole lot here of, and these aren't very rare, but 1967 pennies, and these have not been put into circulation. So these I got straight from the bank, and I've got a whole collection actually of them. But let's go back before we started with coins. Bartering. Bartering is simply a system of exchange. People would exchange something for something else. So if a farmer wanted to buy some shoes, he would probably exchange his, well, it says there, a bushel of wheat for a pair of shoes from a shoemaker. And that was quite good, wasn't it? Think have you ever played swaps at school? And you used to swap cards, or used to swap stamps, or you would swap coins. Well, that's what bartering was. It was a system of swapping. And that worked quite well. The Mesopotamians did it, the Phoenicians did it, the Babylonians did it. And that predated money. Before money was invented, people were happy doing, growing, making, swapping. But gradually, things got more complicated. And the more it happened, the more numerous it took place. You needed to have something that would define what you were swapping with. And so they came up with IOUs, they used whale's teeth. And eventually they needed to find money. All right, now you need to watch this because I'm going to ask you some questions. And we're going to have Pastor NJ and Pastor Dayan helping us here. These are things that goods were exchanged for. Food, tea, weapons, spices, salt, rings and jewelry, stones, cattle, crafts, silks, perfumes, muskets, balls. They even say human skulls. Now, I don't particularly like that one, but apparently it was at one point. Now, some of these things were quite valuable. And you'll see one there that says it was so valuable that Roman soldiers' salaries were paid in it. That's interesting, isn't it? It was called a certain ration. They had a salt ration. There were stones that were sometimes used as coins, and there is a rise stone. And up to recently, it was still used in Yap, and that's a Micronesian island. All right, now here's some questions for you. You've got to go on to your chat level, all right? So we're looking at bartering. We recognize people swapped things. Your first question is, what was so valuable that Roman soldiers were paid their salary in it? What was so valuable? What did they like to receive and they could swap it for something else? What was it? Was it cattle? Was it deer skins? Or was it salt?
Okay, guys, so Pathfinders, let us reply to the question. And we'll also be getting the answers from those guys who are joining us on Facebook. Let's look at this valuable thing that was used to pay Roman soldiers. Did I repeat that right, Paul?
You did, yes.
Good. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do give us your answers. Yeah, guys, we are waiting on you. So what was so valuable that it was even used to pay Roman soldiers?
Oh, have I defeated everybody? Does anyone know?
We haven't got any answers so far.
All right, then I'm going to have to tell them, Pastor NJ. Let's go back. Can you see on the list on the screen, go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it says salt. Salt was so valuable that Roman soldiers' salaries were paid with it. It was called a salt ration. And then they would use salt to buy other things. All right, now let's have a Bible question. Can you remember, because we're all good Bible students here, can you remember any Bible story where somebody swapped something that was very valuable for something that was of very small worth? And it's in the book of Genesis, all right? It's in the book of Genesis, and one of them was called Esau. All right, can you remember what was swapped?
Okay, guys, let's, oh, we already have answers for that one, Paul.
Okay. What answers do we have, NJ?
Sorry?
What answers have we got?
Okay, so Lupa was quick to type, and he says, wait for it, as other guys are still typing, let's be fair. And we got the guys on Facebook also typing, and the answer is birthright and food.
Yes.
And Kyla also says Esau, birthright, and food. So yeah, those are the answers we've got.
Now, for your award, you're perfectly right, and well done, Pathfinders. For your award, you've got to come up with 10 different things, and you need to write these down now on your notes. 10 things that goods were exchanged for. So you might want to write down your food, your tea, your weapons, your spices, your salt, rings and jewelry, and then go over to stones. And remember the rye stone, that was in Yap, where they would use stones as money. And then cattle, yep, cattle, and then some of the other things. You've got to have 10 on your list. So make sure you've had a look and you've actually got them. Then we will come to this story. Do you remember the story of Jacob and Esau? Who was the firstborn? All right. Question again. Who was the firstborn? Was it Jacob or Esau?
Who was the firstborn, guys? They are still showing, I believe that's the picture that we are asking about. So who was the firstborn between Jacob and Esau? And the guys are telling us it was Esau.
Well done, Pathfinders, it was. But what did Esau swap his birthright for? He bartered it. He was a hunter. He was the firstborn. He should have received the birthright. But his brother, Jacob, he was the one who came out of the womb holding the heel of his brother. And his mother had been told that the older would serve the younger. Can you remember that he swapped it for a pot of stew? Can you remember that? That must have been the most silly barter that was ever made. Would you give away the blessing of your birthright, of your inheritance, simply for a bowl of stew? Well, I don't think I would do that, and I'm sure none of us would either. But there it is in the Bible. That's what he did. It actually says in my translation that he despised his birthright. He didn't put any value on it. And so one thing we need to learn is to put value on the things of God, because they are the most important things we'll ever receive. All right, well done, Pathfinders. Now I want to start getting into money, because this is what we're going to be collecting. And gradually, you know, money had to come into play because they couldn't keep swapping everything. And for instance, salt or barley became so heavy that you couldn't really take it anywhere. And how do you put it into where do you keep it? And whale's teeth, they're hard to split. If you want change or money back, how do you do it? And shells can be picked up on any beach. They're not valuable. So gradually they brought into play money. And the money began to be printed or minted, and it came in from different areas. We've got there Lydia in Western Turkey, but you will find the Romans used it. Now, have any of you watched and seen, maybe on TV, or maybe you've seen it out walking with your mum and dad, people with metal detectors? Have you ever watched people with metal detectors out there, and they've got these sort of long rods and they're moving it to and fro over the ground? Have you seen that? Where they're looking for things that might be valuable. And sometimes people have found buried coins. They found Roman coins, and these are valuable. And we're going to look at the history of coinage in the UK. But people have found coins that were buried. And I think I heard of one just recently that was actually found. So we're moving from barter. Barter was exchanging goods. And now we're going to get to money. And there we're going to learn the first coins were, well, they were called Gallo-Belgic, Gauls, Belgiums, and they were called staters. And they came into Britain, and there was trade between the Celtic countries of Britain and Gaul. And then eventually came these Roman coins. Now, I've got a picture of some of the earliest coins there. And the earliest coin found in the UK, I researched, was about 211 BC. And it was found in a place called Hallerton in Leicestershire. So this is the earliest coins. Now, you've got to remember how coins came in. They came in from different countries. They came in and they gradually became what's known as currency. All right, today we have something called the Royal Mint. Does anyone know what the Royal Mint is? Anyone have any idea what the Royal Mint does? Because today we mint, and that's a term for producing our own coins. And the Royal Mint has, it supplies about 60 countries every year, and mainly, of course, our own country. Now, I want you to learn something about the Royal Mint. The Royal Mint is the Royal Mint Limited, and it's operated by Her Majesty's Treasury. And it's the exclusive contract to supply coins for our countries. Now, this part I want you to remember. The Royal Mint was first established in 886 AD in London. That's a long time ago, isn't it? 886 AD. First, it was in the Tower of London. They had a mint. And then in 1968, the Royal Mint was moved to Wales and to a country called, or a town called Lantrizat. All right, now I want to do a little quiz here again. First of all, you've got to tell me, where was the Royal Mint first established? Which city was the Royal Mint first established in? Was it Cardiff? Was it Edinburgh? Was it London? Or was it Dublin? What do you think?
So, which city, guys, was the first Royal Mint established in? We'd love to hear from you. So if you can just put your answers on the chat, that would be good. That goes for you guys who are joining us on Facebook as well. We'd love to hear from you. So we have a few answers trickling in. And we are waiting for a few more. Okay, so Palesa says London. That's on Facebook. And we have a few other guys here, and so does Saul on Facebook, and a few other guys here agreeing. Lavan says London, and Tayila also says London. But we have Ocean saying Cardiff.
Well, it was London, but you know, Cardiff is interesting because it was eventually moved to Wales. So those of you who said London were quite correct, and it was the Tower of London. You remember that it was first established. But if you look here, in 1968, the Royal Mint was moved to Wales, and it's a name that I suspect you can't remember. It's called Lantrizat, and that's a town in Wales where the Royal Mint is to this day. And you can go and visit, and I think you can have tours of the Royal Mint. I've not actually been, so it must be something I want to do. All right, I'm in Scotland. Pastor NJ is in Scotland. Did you know that in Scotland we print our own banknotes? Now, those of you who are logging on from England or America, you've got your banknotes. But in Scotland, we have Scottish notes. They're legal tender anywhere in the UK. But there are 3 banks that print their own notes. Now, you probably can't see me too well, but here's a Scottish £10 note, and this one says it was printed by the Royal Bank of Scotland. I've got another £10 note here, and this one tells me that it was the Bank of Scotland that printed that one. And I've got one more. Aren't I lucky to have 3 £10 notes, Pastor NJ?
I was going to say.
And another one has the Clydesdale Bank. So in Scotland, we have our own notes that are printed by different banks. The
Wow.
trouble is, I go down sometimes to England and people look at them and are not too sure they want to take them. Have you had that problem, Pastor NJ?
Yes, yes, and especially abroad, it
Yes.
becomes worse.
Yeah. All right. So that's what the Royal Mint actually does. Now, I want to bring you on to what I collect. I collect what's known as pre-decimal coins. And on the bottom of the screen, did you know we changed our currency in 1971? Now, that's a long time before anyone here was born. Now, it's 49 years ago. I actually think it's before Pastor NJ was born as well, if I'm right.
Yeah, no comment, but you are right.
You're right, yes. But I wasn't dating you. It means you're younger than 49, Pastor NJ. Now,
Yeah.
I am not, and I see Manuel is on screen, and I think without trying to date Manuel, we are probably not 49 or younger. So I can remember the old pre-decimal coins. Now, these are the coins that I collect, and this is my collection. There were different coins, and it's interesting to know today you have how many pennies are there in a shilling today? Does anyone can remember? It's based on tens, isn't it? All right. But in the pre-decimal coinage, 1 shilling equaled 12 pence. And so there were 20 shillings to a pound. And if you multiply 20 by 12, you will get to 240 pennies to the pound. There were different coins. The smallest coin I've got here in my collection is called a farthing. That was a quarter of a penny. I'll show it again. There's a farthing. A farthing was the very smallest coin. And then you went from the farthing and you would go to a halfpenny. And there was a half penny, which I've got there. And then you would have a penny as well. Now, there used to be a bicycle. Have any of you heard or seen in a museum a bicycle that was called a penny farthing? Have any of you seen it? If you put your hand up, has anyone seen? It's a funny bike. It's got a huge front wheel, which is the penny, and it's got a very small back wheel, which is the farthing. How anyone ever rode it, I have no idea. But it was based on the penny and the farthing. There were coins called a threepenny bit. There was a silver threepenny bit. There was a copper threepenny bit. And there was a sixpence. There was lots of different things. And I love these coins. And I've got a whole collection of these coins. But did you know something interesting? Pennies were abbreviated to D, the letter D. It was like 1 penny, 1 with a D on the back. And that was because it was known as LSD, pounds, shillings, and pence. And the D stood for denarius. And denarius is an old Roman coin. All right, now let's see how observant you are. I'm going to move the screen, and my question to you is, when was Decimalization Day in the United Kingdom? What year, what month, and can you even remember the day? So let's see. Who can remember what year we went from pre-decimal to decimal? Can anyone remember?
Which year was it, guys? When we moved from pre-decimal to the decimal system. If you can share that with us, we would be glad you did. Okay. Guys on Facebook, if you can follow that, that would help as well. So what year did the transition from pre to decimal come? So what year And if you know the date, that's even a bonus.
Oh,
15 February 1971.
did someone put that down?
Yeah, that's what Saul is saying on.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Did anyone else get that?
Sorry,
Okay.
come again, Paul.
Let me go back. At the bottom, decimalization day was 15th of February 1971. Next year, it will be 50 years. 50 years next year. Now, I remember, because I'm older than that, I remember the old coins. And that's when I started collecting. And I now have them in, I have them in my coin collection. And I have pennies, and they're all here. Can you see them? I have pennies for each of the years. And that's when I started collecting.
Wow.
And I soon learned that some years were more valuable than other years. It means they were scarce. They were scarce. I heard a story, which I'll share with you, that somebody had his coin collection stolen from his house. Now, that's a very sad thing, but somebody broke into his house and they, I guess, were taking anything they could think was valuable. And they stole his coin collection. But what they didn't know was how valuable different coins were. And so they found a whole lot of pennies and they thought, well, these aren't valuable. So they just used them in their change. And one man was on the bus one day, and this is the old days when you used to pay and you used to get back your change from the ticket collector, not the man at the front now, the driver. And he got back his change and he knew about coins, and he had a look and he suddenly realized the penny he'd received back was a 1933 penny. It was rare. It was very rare. And because he knew coins, he knew he had a valuable coin. And they realized in the end that it probably came from this collection. I think he was honest and he took it in because he realized somebody must have collected it. But there are some coins, and we're going to come on to this, that are more valuable than others. And if you can collect coins and find a valuable one, you're doing very well. All right, let's move away from my pre-decimal coins. These are the coins that you guys know, all right? These are the coins now that are in circulation. So since 1971, we have coinage that goes from a 1 penny, a 2 penny, and then you'll go onward. Now you've got to learn some terms. There's the obverse and the reverse. The obverse is the heads. If you've ever been in a football match and they used to toss a coin to see who would kick off, and you could call heads or tails. Have you done that? Well, the heads is the obverse, and the tails, as it's called, is the reverse. So there on your coinage slide, the obverse is the head. Our monarch is Queen Elizabeth. So at the moment, all the coins will have her head on it. Eventually, when there's a change and King Charles or Prince Charles becomes King Charles, his heads will be printed, or his head will be printed on the coins. So there with a 1p, you've got Queen Elizabeth II, and on the reverse or the tails side, there's a portcullis with chains. So have a look, ask mum and dad for some coins, maybe in your pocket money, and you will see it. Here's another one. This is the 2 pence. Again, Queen Elizabeth, but on the back are some ostrich feathers with a coronet. But there's been a different design later in 1982 onwards. Then you go to the 5 pence. Some of you guys have got these. Again, Queen Elizabeth, but this is a thistle on the background. Now we call these coins silver, but did you know there's no silver content in them? None. There used to be. And in my pre-decimal coins, going back before the 1940s, I've got some coins that have a silver content. And if they have a silver content, they're more valuable. Today, there is no silver content. All right, let's go on to this one. This is a 10 pence. On the obverse, that's the heads. Again, the Queen. On the back, you've got the lions, the crowned lions. And those of you that watch football may know the English football team. They're called the Three Lions, aren't they? If you actually remember, it's the symbol. Then you've got a 20 pence, Queen Elizabeth. You've got a rose. You've got a 50 pence. You've got Queen Elizabeth, and on the back is what's known Britannia and the Lion. Now, the 50 pence has changed over the years. They used to have a bigger 50 pence, and it was slimmed down to be a smaller one sometime, well, about 1998, I think. They slimmed it down to a smaller version. And then in 2008, I think there was a new design. All right, then you come on to the £1, and we're going to come back to this £1 in a minute, because I want you to look at the design on the left, the £1. Can you see Queen Elizabeth? And then on the back or the reverse, you've got some symbols, a rose, a leek, a thistle, and a shamrock. That's the coin on the bottom left. And I want you to go and find this coin when you've finished today. I want to ask your dad and mum if they've got a £1 coin. And I want you to have a look to see if you can find. Now, after 2017, they brought in a new £1 coin. And that's the one that has these edges on it. It has a number of edges all the way round. It used to be just round, but now it has the edges. And you may remember, some of you, the change of the £1 coin. And then how they had to change all the machines, because the old machines only took the round ones. Now, this is in your lifetime, which you will remember. But did you know that design, the rose, the leek, the thistle, and the shamrock, was designed by a person, and it was designed by a young boy. And I'm going to show you the picture of this young boy and what he actually did. So if you've got mum and dad there and they've got a £1 coin, have a look at it. You will see on the back those elements. And I'll show you this young boy, his picture, in a little while. And then you come to £2, and we've got Queen Elizabeth, and on the reverse, it's a commemorative design, actually, on the reverse. Now, none of them are made of gold or silver anymore. They're made of what's called alloys. So they're the coins that you will have, and you might like to start collecting these coins, because again, some become more rare than others. Now, on this slide, you will see the coins in circulation. And there's one coin I've put a star against, because when this slide went through to the British Union, Natalie, Auntie Natalie, who does all the administration, she came back and said, I've never seen a 25 pence coin. And she's perfectly correct, because there aren't 25 pence coins that you will find in your change. But there was a 25 pence coin. It was a commemorative coin, minted 4 times with 4 different designs, and between 1971 and 1981. And the latest one was, I think, for Prince Charles and Lady Diana when they got married. Sadly, of course, that marriage did not last. But the 25 pence was a special commemorative coin. But you will have 1 pennies, 2 pennies, 5 pennies, 10 pennies, 20 pence, 50, £1, or £2. Now, remember that £1 coin, because I'm going to come on to it. But before I do that, I'm showing you again my display of coins. That's how I actually keep them. And I have them tucked away in my folders. And you've got there on the bottom British pennies, and they're from a reign of Edward, I think the 6th or 7th. Let me see on here. It's Edward the 7th. And I'm collecting 1 coin for each of the years. And you see, I've been able to do that. And I began my collection as a young boy. I keep them in these different folders as well. So I have plastic folders, because you want to keep the condition in good condition. So that's what I actually do. On the bottom, there is a note, and it's a £1 note. Can you get £1 notes today? No, the lowest is a £5. But here I have my £1 coin. I'm showing it on the screen now. Okay. Now this £1 coin, note, I should say, I think is quite special because it tells us something about us. Did you know that every £1 note, or even if you've got a £5 now, whether it's all screwed up or brand new, is it worth the same? Yep, they're all worth the amount that it says. So in this case, it was worth £1. Even if it'd been through the wash, it was still worth £1. But is every note exactly the same? Is every note the same? Well, it's not, because they have a different number on the bottom. There's a serial number. You can't see it, but there's a serial number written. And so although each coin is worth the same, or note is worth the same, each one has a different number. And that's how they know it's not a fake. If you had two the same serial numbers, it was a counterfeit. And you see, the thing is, we're worth the same to God, aren't we? Doesn't matter how old, how young, what country we come from, we're worth exactly the same to God. But each one is different because we've got different skills and abilities. All right, you can also tell whether it's genuine by some marks that are in there. And I can remember going to the supermarket and the cashier would hold up the note and they would be looking for a line that was going down it, a particular metallic strip. And if they could see that, they knew it was a genuine note. And you know, we need to be genuine as Christians as well. But the most important thing is this note says it's worth £1 and it has a promise. And you can read the promise on the top of the screen. The Bank of England, this was a Bank of England note. I promise to pay the bearer the sum of, and it will say £1. Now it's only worth £1 because of the promise of the Bank of England. But did you know that we have promises from the Bible that are worth far more than any promise of any bank? Banks may fall, they may go out of existence, but God's promises never, ever change. All right, in the Bible, you will also find coins, won't you? Can you remember this story in the Bible? Who can remember the story of the lost coin? Can you remember that coin? The parable of the lost coin in Luke 15, there are three parables of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. All right, here's your question, and I don't know if Pastor NJ is still with us, whether we can do this question.
Yes, we can.
Can anyone tell me how many coins the woman had? She had a certain number of coins, and she lost one coin. Now, there were 100 sheep, there were 2 sons, but how many coins were there? Can anyone remember? Luke 15, verses 8 to 10.
Oh, Paul, the guys here are so sharp. Before you even finish the question, they were typing away. Taylor just told us 10, and
yes,
we are getting that throughout. 10, 10, 10, 10.
You see, Pastor NJ, these guys know their Bible, don't they?
They surely do.
Isn't that really good? I will read it. Or what woman having 10 silver coins, if she loses one coin, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and seek diligently till she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, rejoice with me, for I found the coin that I lost. Just so I tell you, there is joy before the angels of God over one sinner who repents. And there's a picture of the woman on her floor trying to find her one coin that she's lost. And what Jesus was telling us is that we are more valuable than any coin, the most valuable coin in the whole world. We're more valuable than. Now, in my coin collection, I have an oldest coin. This is, you can't really see it here, it's a penny. It's a 1797 cartwheel penny. That's the oldest penny I have in my collection. It's worth something, but it's not worth too much. I also have what's known as a gold sovereign. I have a half gold sovereign here, and that's made of real gold. So that coin is worth something. I think I looked up recently, and it's probably worth about 230, 240, or 250 pound. If it was a gold sovereign, it would be worth double. But what Jesus is telling us is that we're worth, each of us, far, far more than the most valuable coin that you could possibly find. Coins are important, but people are more important. We're priceless. Don't ever forget that. And that's why that woman searched and searched, and there was rejoicing when she found her coin. Now, I want to come back. I recognize we only have a certain amount of time. Money is distributed in the UK. Can you see a picture of the ATM there? And your mum and dad will go to the ATM with their credit card. They will put the credit card in and money will come out once they type their PIN number in. Not coins. You will get out notes that will come out. And you've seen mum and dad do this, I think. And there are cash centres that the Royal Mint sends the money to. And these are normally banks or post offices. And then the money comes out. So when you want to go on holiday, and if you still use coins and notes, then your mum draws it out, or your dad, from the bank. And demand comes into play. They always say at Christmas they need more money because people want more cash. Now today it's becoming a cashless society. Plastic is the in thing, the credit cards. But you still get money, and in our offering at church, we still go down the front and we still put our notes and our coins into the offering plate. So it's something that we still have. Now, Auntie Natalie said to me something. She said, Pastor Paul, when you tell the boys and girls this, please tell them they need to wash their hands after handling money. She wanted me to make sure I told you this because she's got 2 boys. And she wanted, or she may have more, but I know she has 2. And she wanted me to say what she tells them. You know, today we've got this virus around, haven't we? And we have to keep washing our hands. Well, when you handle money, you need to wash your hands. So we make sure that nothing is passed on and no germs are passed on. All right, now. The government raise lots of money, and they raise it through taxes. None of you pay taxes yet, but Pastor NJ does. Pastor Manuel, he pays taxes. I pay taxes. And the government raised money through income tax. They take a portion of your earning. VAT is called value-added tax, and you will know this because when you buy something in the shop, it has a price plus VAT. Then there's national insurance that pays for our health care and other things. And then there are some other taxes as well. Now, did you know way back they had something called a window tax? So if you had a big house with more windows, you paid more money. Oops. Now, we don't have that today, but they used to have it. And people would then go around bricking up their windows because they didn't want to pay too much tax. So it's amazing. The government has many ways of raising money. 193 billion from income tax. Wow. VAT, 156 billion. National insurance, 142. And other taxes, 89 billion. And that's something you'll learn about later in life: inheritance tax, capital gains tax, other taxes. But to be fair, it's spent. And there's how the government spend it on social protection, health, education, defense, transport, and other things as well. And today, the government are spending more than they get in supplying the furlough and the different payments to people in this lockdown. So that's how money is collected and spent. In the time that we have left, I want to come on to the different things that are in money, because no longer do we have gold or silver. Most of them are made of alloys. And one of the things you've got to do is you've got to know these terms. So watch it carefully. An alloy is a combination of two or more metals, one of which is a metal where the resulting metal has metallic properties. And I will show you these in pictures. There are three main alloys: nickel and brass, copper and nickel, and that's the main one, copper and nickel, and bronze, which is mainly copper and zinc. And we will show you some pictures of these. Very quickly, these are the coins, and you've got a £2 coin, a £1 coin, a 50p coin, and you'll see the outer ring and the inner ring, and you'll see that they're made of the outer ring. Take the £2 at the top, copper and nickel. But the inner circle, which looks silver, is not silver. It's again copper and nickel. Again, you've got the £1 coin, mainly copper nickel. That's called the cupro nickel. Now, if you look at post 2017, do you remember I told you the £1 coin changed? And it said in 2014, if you can read this, this is an interesting fact. The Royal Mint announced a new £1 coin. It was to enter circulation in 2017, which it did, and it has the edges on it. All right, it was to combat counterfeiting, because people try and put false coins into the currency. And so it was changed, but it's no longer a gold coin. It's one that is made of an alloy. Now, these are the other ones that you will see, but I want to go on to an interesting fact in just a moment, because there are special coins that are either cast or clad or commemorative, and the easiest one to remember is a commemorative coins. And I have one or two in my collection. The crowns are commemorative coins in my collection. But let's come on to, well, we go on to dies here. Just so we go through this, a die is what stamps the coin. So on the obverse, you have the head, reverse, you have the tail, and it's stamped by a die, and that's how you get it actually made. And so here are some more facts. Now, I want to just go on to this coin. I'll come back to the other one. Do you remember this one, the £1 coin? All right. 2017, it was actually brought into circulation. And there we have the edges. And do you remember you've got the symbols? Can anyone spot what the four symbols of those, what they actually are? What are the four symbols? Can you see a rose, a leek, a shamrock, and a thistle? Can you see those? The one on the left is the rose, the next one is the leek, the next one is the thistle, and on my far right, as I look at the screen, is the shamrock. They represent all the countries of the United Kingdom. So which country is the rose representing? Does anyone know? Put it on the chat if you know. Anyone know the rose?
Okay, guys, the rose. Does it represent a country? If so, which one? Okay, we already have some answers, Paul.
What do we have, MJ?
We'll just patiently encourage those who are on Facebook to get a chance to respond and tell us what the rose represents, or which country the rose represents. And so the answers are coming in. Okay. And okay, so the guys here are telling us that the rose is almost everyone saying that for those who are on the Zoom. And oh, someone is saying, well, I'm not from the UK, so I'm not quite sure.
All right, that's fair enough.
International audience. And by the way, when you took out your collection, they were fascinated. We had a lot of hearts going up in appreciation for your collection. Well done, you, to use your phrase. Okay, so the guys are telling us Felistus, England, England. Everyone is saying England.
Yes, you're right.
Tamu is said maybe Scotland.
No,
Tamu, because we are all from Scotland. We need to see you after this, Tamu.
it is England. Now I'll go through the other ones. The leek is the next one. That is, if anyone's from Wales, they will know it represents Wales. Then you come to the thistle. All right, which country is the thistle? Yes, I can see Manuel is giving me signals. The thistle is from, anyone got it on the chat? Anyone?
Yes, but we will ignore that person, Paul, because it's in Togo.
All right, anyone got the thistle? It is Pastor NJ. What would you answer?
Scotland.
It is Scotland.
Come on.
And then you will have the shamrock on the far right. It is Ireland. All right. Now this was drawn. It's inside a coronet, which is a crown. Now let me show you the picture of who actually did this. This is fascinating. This is a young boy, and his name is David Pearce.
Wow.
David Pearce. He was a sixth form student in Walsall in England, and they had a competition. I think the Royal Mint opened up a competition to design the reverse tail side of the new £1 coin. That's why I asked you to go and look for one. Now, if you find it and you've got the 4 symbols, that is David Pearce at the time. He was a sixth form student. And can you imagine how cool that is to have in your currency a design that you did? Yeah. Now, he's now gone to university, I think, because that was back in 2017. And I last heard he was studying architecture, I think at Cambridge. But he's going to be a clever lad, isn't he? And somewhere on the bottom there, you've got to be ever so eagle-eyed and have better eyes than I have. But can you see the 4 symbols? Then the crown, and under the crown there is a mint mark, and there are 2 letters. Can you see a D and a P? Can anyone see it? It's right at the bottom of the picture, above where it says £1. It's in the silver part. Can you see where it says DP? Well, that's a mint mark, and I think it indicates it is his design by that boy, David Pearce. How good is that? Wow. So get out your £1 coins, start your collection, and go and tell a friend or your mum and dad and say, I know what these stand for, these symbols. And you can tell them the 4 countries in the United Kingdom. And you can say it was a young boy called David who actually designed it. And I find that so absolutely fantastic.
Yes, it
now,
is.
Pastor NJ, I know my time is going to move away from me, so I've got to be quick now. There's so much about coins. If you have a look at coins, I said some are worth more than the others. Look at this coin here. It's a £2 coin. And if you look on the edge, they printed something wrong on some coins. Now, this is a coinage that was printed, and they were printing the old rhyme, which is from this time of year, November. Remember the 5th of November. We've just gone past it. You know, firework day. And that represents the history of trying to blow up Parliament. But look at that coin on the bottom. What does it say? Well, they printed it wrong. It says remember, not remember. And some other ones have a different, the P and the R got mixed up. Now, these are actually now collector's items. I haven't got one, but if you could find one that has this wrong printing on it, you've got a collector's item. That's why collecting coins is fascinating. All right, let me go on. There's the young boy, David. And I've already told you about the reverse and the obverse. Some of the coins have an edge, a reeded edge, and it comes from when they were proper coins with a valuable metal in it. And at the bottom it says series, and it's a date run, for example, of Edward VII, and that's what I have collected. So for 1901, 1902, 1903, it's a series. Then you've got some notes and an overprint. Pastor NJ found this for me. There's the old Bank of England £1, but can you see the overprint withdrawn from circulation? So that's just what an overprint is. Now, I've got to show you something because I'm not a great note collector, but Pastor NJ shared with me a note that is very special. And he shared with me a Zimbabwean note coming from his country. And when I looked at the figures on it, I was amazed because the biggest note we have in England is, or Britain, is a £50 note. This says, and I don't know if you can read it back to front, it says $10 billion. So Pastor NJ gave me a note. What an incredible man your pastor is up in Aberdeen. He gave me a note of I'm a billionaire. But Pastor NJ, was that actually worth very much at the time?
I choose not to comment.
No, the country went into what's called rampant inflation. And in the end, the notes were not worth a great deal. But I can say to somebody, I'm not just a millionaire. Pastor NJ has given me a present that makes me a billionaire. Unfortunately, I probably can't cash it anywhere. All right, there's some other facts about magnetic strips and inflation controls, fluorescent ink. Check it out and you will see on the screen. Here's our British money: 1p, 2p, 5p, 10p, 20, 50, £1, and a £2 coin. If you look at notes, we have a £5 note, a £10 note, a £20 note, and a £50 note. Now, they all have the head on the front if you're from England, but you have to look on the back to see what's on the back. And this is one of the things you've got to do for your collection. You've got to look on the back and describe the currency in your country. All right. Now, I've got about 2 minutes left. My collection is interesting to me, and it has some value, but coins are graded according to their condition. And there was a 70-point grading scale called the Sheldon scale. It may have come from America originally, but people who look at coins and value them, they have 70 scales, numeric values, from poor being P1 all the way up to mint state, which is MS70. So those coins, those pennies I showed you from 1967, they're actually in just under mint state because they came in circulation to a bank, but I got them from the bank. So I have nearly mint coins. All right. Finally, the worksheet. You've got a worksheet there online. There's 7 questions. Some you'll fill in from this presentation, like barter and the different things about bartering your currency. Others you'll need to start collecting, and you've got to collect your own coins, and you'll have to talk to mum and dad and see what you can find. I believe coin collecting is fun, and I believe you too can become a numismatist, all right, which is a coin collector. Now that's hard to say, isn't it? But that's what it is, a coin collector. Start collecting small and enjoy your collecting. And in the end, remember God's word. Jesus said this: give unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and that's money or taxes, but give unto God the things that are God's. And what's more important to us is what God has given us, because it will lead to eternity. And the Bible says in Matthew 22, verse 21, when they heard this, they marveled. And that's what I will always remember: God first. All right, Pastor Dayan, Pastor NJ, I've finished unless any of the Pathfinders have a quick question they want to ask before we hand over to Manuel, who's been waiting so patiently. Is there any quick question anyone want to ask, know any more about Pastor NJ's $10 billion or my coin collection? Any questions, guys?
Wow. Well, we're just waiting if
all right,
and then we can
but then
pause them.
If there are no questions,
but we also want to express some.
Go and make sure.
Well, someone wants to know how rich you are.
Oh, well, I'm a $10 billion owner because of that note. Okay. No, I'm a poor pastor. I'm not very rich, but I love collecting coins, and particularly the pre-decimal ones. As I said, the most valuable I have is worth about £250. And that only just about buys me a tire on my car these days. But there we go. All right. God bless everyone. Go and look for the £1 coin. Tell somebody about the 4 symbols of the country, and then tell them about David Pierce. And one day that could be you. Thank you, everyone, and God bless.